Welcome to the Watchman from TBN's Jerusalem studio. Well, from time to time, our team at Christians United for Israel likes to bring you the Watchman All-Star Panel to make sense of everything that's going on here in the Middle East and around the world in Israel and how it affects you sitting there at home. And folks, there is a lot to talk about. We have a new defense minister here in Israel, Avigdor Lieberman. We have Saudi and French peace proposals. We have Iran continuing on the march. We have the ISIS caliphate. We have Hamas, Hezbollah, so much more. So we're very fortunate today to have two of the world's leading Middle East analysts to break it all down for us. I'm joined today by Dan Diker of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs and Dr. Eldad Pardo of Hebrew University and Impact SE to discuss peace plans, political processes, Iran, ISIS, and what it all means for America. So fasten your seatbelt and get ready for another Watchman All-Star Panel. Take a look. Dr. Pardo, Dan, thanks so much for joining us today on The Watchman. So much to talk about, gentlemen. We need, I think, 5 shows to cover it all, but I think a good place to start is with some current news here in the Middle East and in particular here in Israel. Avigdor Lieberman is now Israel's defense minister. Moshe Bogi alone is out. Dan, I'll start with you. What's the significance of Lieberman now ascending to that position of defense minister? What does it mean for the region? Is it a game changer?
It could well be a game changer, Eric, for several reasons. One, politically, it really appears that the Prime Minister is rebuilding his coalition. He's not just increasing the coalition from a fragile 61 to an incrementally more stable 66 members of Knesset, but what he's doing is actually quite substantially shifting the coalition from what's perceived as a hard right coalition, ironically with Lieberman, to be a more right centrist coalition. How does that work? It works by bringing in Lieberman, who is far more, in terms of diplomacy, more flexible than the West thinks he is.
You know, this is fascinating, gentlemen, and Dr. Pardo, I'll come to you on this. You are an acknowledged expert on Iran, one of the top experts on Iran in all of Israel. What does this mean for Iran, this new coalition? What does it mean in terms of Israel's approach to the Iran threat?
As Dan said, this government will be much more in a position to take decisions and make hard decisions to whatever directions. So if I were like Hezbollah or Iran itself, I would be very, very careful in every move, because Israel might launch a peace initiative, it might attack, it will have much more robust support.
Yeah, because this would cover all political, basically, parties.
Exactly, yeah. Particularly if they can have good connections also to the centrist among the Labour Party. Right. And as Dan said, Lieberman is extremely pragmatic, and he has this Russian Putinist way of, okay,
strong.
Not only strong, we make a decision, we go for it.
We have a few peace plans floating around right now, a Saudi initiative, a French initiative. What's your take on all this peace plan talk?
Well, Eric, one thing that we've learned in Israel over the last 3-4 decades of peace plans, most of them have failed, a couple of them have succeeded, is that when the international community wants to lead, wants to shepherd a peace plan, it fails. When the Arab world and Israel decide to take on a peace dialogue and diplomacy between them, it's succeeded. 2 examples. The Oslo peace framework was actually negotiated between Israel and the PLO. Now, Oslo has not been an overwhelming victory, but it did create a successful outline, blueprint for moving forward on a diplomatic pathway with the Palestinian Authority. Better example, the Egyptian-Israeli Treaty of Peace and the Jordanian-Israeli Treaty of Peace were primarily negotiated between the 2 Arab republics, or the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan and Israel, and in the Egyptian situation with the Arab Republic of Egypt, Sadat, President, and Israel. You had Jimmy Carter in the Egyptian case host basically what was a signing and an after party. But the hard work of diplomacy and compromise was done between the parties. So what's happening these days and these weeks, when the French government has basically taken a unilateral action to bring 29 foreign ministers of 29 powers to determine the fate of Israel and its Arab neighbors is unheard of, and it's a mistake, and it will never succeed.
It's astounding. Israel is a sovereign nation. It can handle its own problems, thank you very much, in my view. Dr. Pardo, another interesting point here. You have this whole Sunni-Shia divide, and Israel's growing closer to some of the Sunni states, as we'll discuss more. But then you have that Iranian axis, Iran, the Assad regime, Hezbollah, etc. Can you talk a bit more about this Sunni-Shia? I don't even know if you can quite call it a Cold War. It's heating up in places like Syria, Yemen. Talk a bit more about that Sunni-Shia divide we're seeing now in the region.
Well, first of all, we have to see and realize that there are many cleavages, fights, enmities. It's all based in the Middle East on, first of all, tribal, then you have ethnic, and on top of it, the religious and theological, when typically the majority persecute the minority. So whether they are Christians, Druze, Aramaic, Assyrians, and so on. Now, on top of this, you have two groups. One are the anti-status quo, or the imperialists. We used to think about imperialists, you know, British imperialism, all of that. But you have Iranian imperialism that is based on expectation for the Mahdi, for the Redeemer.
The Islamic Messiah.
Yeah, and a racist notion. We are the Aryan people, and we should lead the Islamic world, and we should lead the entire world. Turkey, on the other hand, they say, we are the Ottoman Empire, we should rule the Middle East. And then you have Arab nationalism, and you have Islamist Sunni nationalism.
You know, it's interesting, gentlemen, that we have this ISIS caliphate, we have Iran on the march in Yemen and Syria, elsewhere. Iraq's on fire, Syria's on fire, Libya's on fire. We can go on and on in the region. None of this really has anything to do with Israel. None of that is Israel's fault. Israel didn't cause the caliphate, didn't cause Libya to go up in flames, but Israel remains the center of the world's ire and kind of, you know, taking the blame for everything going on in the Middle East. We have this whole theory of linkage, etc. But Dan, you think this Saudi peace plan is interesting. Tell us a little bit more why.
People will raise their eyebrows and they'll say, Eric, the Saudi peace plan, let me take a look at that. Doesn't that require Israel to pull back to the indefensible 1967 lines? And doesn't that call for the return of several million Palestinians into what today, into what today is the state of Israel? The answer is no, it doesn't, because the Saudi peace plan today is just a framework for everyone to get together. And it's my understanding that the Arab world is open to an unconditional coming together, no preconditions, to coming together around a table and call it the Arab League Peace Plan framework. That's what is very substantial about what's going on, and it is not just smoke and mirrors. There is something going on because the Arab Sunni world is terrified of Iran. And whom do they think is the only country in the world that can take care of Iran? Not the United States, with the greatest of respect to the world superpower, not even Russia. Today, Israel. Israel is the security anchor. Israel is perceived by the Sunni Arab establishment as the light unto the Middle East nations, and that's why Israel today has much more leverage diplomatically than it has had in the past.
Coming up after the break with Dr. Pardo, Dan Diker, we're going to talk more about Iran, ISIS, the ideology, and what it all means for you. There's much more coming up here on The Watchman from TBN's Jerusalem studio. It's The Watchman, it's Kufi, only right here on TBN. Stick around.